Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the English Support Podcast. Now, today I am joined by a very special guest, and that is Siena Magaña McCue, who is the Assistant Director of Studies at the Essential English Centre here in Manchester. So, just for a bit of background, she's originally from the US, and she's currently studying for her Masters at Manchester Metropolitan University. So, we're going to be chatting about her journey, the experience of studying and working in a new country, and what advice she has for students learning English. So, Sienna, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Kieran. I'm very happy to be here.
All right, you're very welcome, very welcome. So, first of all, can you tell us a bit about your role as Assistant Director of Studies at the Essential English Centre?
Yes, of course. So, as Assistant Director of Studies, I'm responsible for helping my Director of Studies oversee the academic department. So, that includes helping design curriculum, ensuring quality standards, playing a key role in supporting our team of wonderful teachers and helping them grow professionally, as well as supporting our students achieve their goals too. I also get to have a balance between leadership and hands-on teaching. So I still get to work directly with the students in the classroom in that way, which I'm very happy about.
Right, so you're not just stuck in the office, but you're also in the classroom as well. That must be fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's great.
All right. Um, so what does a typical day look like for you? I know it might be difficult to, because you're always doing a lot of different things, but is there anything kind of typical for you?
Yeah, well, my day usually starts around 7:30, and that begins with a quick catch up with my director of studies and with the teachers to address any urgent concerns or just to see how things are going and the plan for the day. I might spend the morning reviewing lesson plans or observing classes or helping assess and place new students. The afternoons are often for admin, so checking in with students to see how on track they are with their goals, updating academic records, attending and sometimes helping deliver teacher training sessions. And at any point, there could be some teaching thrown in there. So there's always something different, and that keeps it exciting.
Hey, so they're at least keeping you busy there, yeah?
Very busy, but a good busy. Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you're kind of having fun there. So what do you enjoy most about working in English language education?
Definitely the people you meet. I think you'd agree with me there.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So it's fun to work with students from all over the world because you learn so much about their cultures and traditions, but it's also interesting to see how their first language impacts the way they learn an additional language. My colleagues are also from such diverse backgrounds. At the moment, I work alongside teachers and staff from the UK, but also Iran and China, Italy, Mauritius. It's just a fun environment to be in. And I think you develop so much empathy for people as well.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely understand that, certainly. So thinking about your students then, what advice would you give to them, to those students who want to get more confident in English, both in the classroom and also outside?
Well, I would say take advantage of your time in the classroom or with your
Hmm.
tutors as much as possible because it won't last forever.
Hmm.
And it's the time when you can ask all your questions and get direct support from someone who knows how to help you. And then take that knowledge and practice in a safe place outside the classroom. So that could be getting involved in student social events with your peers, or it could be simply sitting down with a film at the end of a long day of studying and doing
Hmm.
homework and all that.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice there. I mean, a lot of it is not being afraid to make mistakes. Yeah, experimenting with language. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
yeah, definitely. Um, so, what do you think makes the biggest difference then when someone is trying to improve their English?
Well, when you're learning any language, I think it's important to make it part of your daily life. So definitely switch your phone language to English. If anyone's listening and you
Hmm.
haven't done that, what are you doing? Stop
Yeah.
listening and do that now. Follow some English speaking social media if you use social media. Look for programs or films in English to watch when you're bored. Get involved in events in the city where you live. If you live in the UK or an English speaking environment, I think it just makes the process so much more enjoyable.
Mhm. Definitely, definitely. And it's all about surrounding yourself with English or any other language that you're trying to learn.
Mhm.
So you touched on this a little bit there in your answer, but are there any resources or habits that you would personally recommend, like reading or watching shows or using any apps?
Yeah, well, I will always recommend some form of reading as a key way to build vocabulary and become more familiar with different grammatical structures. The students I know who improve very quickly always tell me that they make the effort to read something every day.
Hmm.
So that could be a short news article, or if you're advanced enough, picking up an actual book from the library. I think graded readers like those published by Macmillan are amazing, for example. And a lot of them come in audiobook form too now. So that's, really good.
Hmm. And I mean, are you aware of any apps that are particularly useful for learning languages?
Hmm. There's one that I've been using recently for French myself, and it's called
Hmm.
JumpSpeak. And it's
Cool.
using generative AI to help you study more efficiently. So you can actually talk to it and it will help correct your speaking, which is a little bit hit and miss. I think they need to develop that a little bit more.
Hmm.
But it comes up with some very interesting and quite natural, I think, I found anyway, ways to practice the language with writing and grammar. So it's pretty cool. I recommend that. Jump.
Okay. Okay, so that sounds like it's useful when you don't have the teacher or tutor in front of you to correct you, to have that kind of app that can do that for you. Just sounds
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked a little bit there about your job and your students who you are helping, but you're also a student yourself, and you're currently studying your master's, like we've mentioned before, at
Mhm.
Manchester Metropolitan University. So tell us a little bit. What are you studying, and how's it going so far?
Yeah. So thank you for asking. I'm
Hmm.
studying applied linguistics at MMU. And applied linguistics, in very simple terms, is basically how language is used in the real world. So
Hmm.
it's a fascinating subject and I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm a mature student. So a lot of my classmates are younger than I am. And getting back into university at my age was a little intimidating. But so far, I've had a great experience. And actually, I'm nearly finished now.
Ah, okay. Well, fingers crossed. I hope everything goes well for you in the remainder of your studies there.
Thank you so much.
Um, oh, you're welcome. So, like in a similar way to a lot of our students here at Elizabeth School of London, you've come from a different country, so you've come from the US, and you've come to study at a higher education institute here in the UK. So,
Hmm.
how does studying in the UK compare with your experience of education in the US?
Oh, it's been a while. It's largely similar academically. The marking system is quite different. But one thing that comes to mind is that in the US, there's actually a big emphasis on university sports leagues.
Hmm.
That's a really popular thing. So a lot of students are recruited while they are still in secondary school to play a sport at university level, and their contract with the uni includes an academic scholarship. The unis have their own stadiums or playing grounds, and the matches are shown on live TV nationwide. The student marching band plays music, and there are cheerleaders and a university mascot that runs around, and people wear clothes in the school colors. And that's just a massive part of university culture, supporting your team and going to games.
Okay. Were you there on a sporting scholarship? And if not, if you could have had one, what sport would it have been?
Oh, Kieran, you're so funny. No, and I did not. I'm not a sporty person, although I knew quite a lot of people who ended up going to uni for American football on a scholarship. I went to high school with a kid who ended up playing for the NFL.
Oh
So that was
wow.
cool. And my niece, she got a volleyball scholarship. So she's attending uni in New York. right now. So it's very, very common, and it's a great way for students to access higher education, especially with the cost of it in the United States. That's a large difference as well.
All right. Well, yeah, great answers there. Thanks for that, Sienna. So, as someone who actually teaches English and also studies it at an advanced level as well, how do you think about language learning differently now?
Yeah, I think early in my teaching, I mean, I can't remember how long you've been teaching, but it's been about 10 years for me. And I
Mhm.
think early on, I assumed that simply giving students the information would be enough to help them progress. So giving them the information, making sure they put in the effort. But I realize now that that's just a small part of it. And it's much more about communication and confidence and interaction, like you said before. I I focus more now on helping students feel comfortable using the language naturally. So even if it's not perfect, encouraging them to be comfortable making mistakes. I've learned that fluency comes from using language meaningfully, and that often means using it in messy, imperfect ways. So that's a perspective that's really helped me as, like I said, I'm revisiting studying French, which I used to speak when I was younger. So it helps me as well in my own journey of language learning.
Um, so maybe we will get you back on the podcast and we'll do it all in French next time. What do you think?
Oui, avec plaisir, Kieran.
Okay, I completely agree with that sentiment. Um, so we've talked a little bit about teaching English and your students trying to improve their English, but at ESL we are, the students here are studying honors degrees. So what do you
Mhm.
feel are some of the biggest differences then between having the general English, the English you use with your family and friends and in your job, and academic English, the English that you're using on your courses?
Yeah. Well, I think many international students are told that they need to switch from general English to academic English when they enter university, which can feel like a big challenge. It's a tall order, I think.
Hmm.
And traditionally, academic English is seen as more formal, structured, objective, and you use it for lectures and writing essays and giving presentations. And yeah, general English is more casual, conversational. But
Hmm.
I think it's important to realize that these are socially constructed categories, essentially. In real life, language depends on context.
Hmm.
So, a group discussion in a seminar might sound very different from a research paper, even though they are both academic situations.
Hmm.
So, rather than maybe teaching students to follow rigid rules, I try to help them understand the purpose and the audience of what they're
Hmm.
saying or writing. So, I would implore them to strive for that. And that way they can make better choices about how formal or structured their language needs to be. And I think that's a much more empowering skill, and
Hmm.
it's much more transferable once they leave uni as well.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that then, Sienna. So, if you don't mind, let's maybe consider like your use of English then. So
Oh,
you've
oh no.
obviously, I'm not going to correct you on anything. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
So obviously you've lived here in the UK for a while now. So do you ever find yourself picking up bits of British English or switching between British English and American usage?
Yeah, all the time. I don't even really realize I do it. It's normally a thing with vocabulary. So, like, I say car park now instead of
Hmm.
parking lot, and I
Hmm.
say lift instead of elevator. But I still call the toilet the bathroom.
Okay,
I
all
hate
right.
excusing myself to go to the toilet. It sounds weird.
So do you find that it's all vocabulary based, or have you noticed any kind of slight grammatical changes as well?
I think I use the present perfect a lot. Um,
Hmm.
in English, it's quite often to overuse, I suppose, the past simple for
Hmm.
situations where maybe you would traditionally use present perfect. So if someone says, have you done this? I might say, yeah, I already did. Yeah, I did that already, which is, you could say not correct, but I just call it American English and totally fine. But yeah, I think I find myself speaking a lot more like the people around me these days. I think my inflection and intonation has changed a little bit after living here for quite a while. And I can really notice it when I speak to my family back home.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, when you go back home, do your friends and family say like, "Oh, you've changed. Your your speech patterns have changed as
Yeah,
well."
they used to be like, "Oh, Sienna lives in England now and she sounds so," I would say like maybe posh, but they would say something else. But it's yeah, pretty, I don't know. It's pretty fun. It's cool, I think, the way that you can change after living in a place for a while.
Oh, definitely, definitely, and I'm sure some of our students would agree with that as well.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
so you mentioned a little bit before about toilet and bathroom, but have you had any other kind of funny moments where British English and American English don't quite match up?
The thing that comes to mind is the word quite.
Hmm.
So in America, something being quite good normally means it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned in the UK, if you say something's quite good, it means something's like it's just okay. Like
Okay.
it's nothing great. So I used to have issues where, like, for example, someone would cook me something and I'd want to say that I am enjoying the food and I would like it. So I would say, this is quite good. And they would get a bit upset
Oh wow.
until
Okay.
I explained what I meant. And then we'd have a laugh about it. So, but yeah, that's the big one that comes to mind.
And tell me then, like, what's something that has surprised you since you've moved to the UK? Either about the culture here or the way people use language.
Well, there's so much diversity here. And that surprised me a lot before I visited in a good way.
Mhm. Yeah.
And there are so many accents. So I struggled a lot with that initially. Even just in Greater Manchester, there
Mhm.
are a lot of regional dialects as well as other accent variations. So, like in places like Stockport or Shaw, for example, and it used to do my head in, so to speak.
Mhm.
Not so much anymore.
Mhm. Okay. Um, so you touched on Manchester being a multicultural city. So how do you think being in a city like Manchester has shaped your experiences both as a student and also as a teacher?
Yeah, it's a fantastic environment to study and work in. As a student, well, I interact with people from all over the world. That's really opened my eyes to different kind of worldviews and communication styles, especially within the very specific subjects that we're studying at uni. Things like discourse and how people perceive language in different contexts and depending on your role in society. And it's very interesting to have peers from all around the world to discuss those things with.
Hmm.
And as a
Hmm.
teacher, it's helped me become much more culturally sensitive and flexible.
Hmm.
I don't just assume all students learn or speak in the same way. And I'm always thinking about how culture and their identities and their prior experiences come to shape the classroom. And I think it's just made me a lot more open minded. It reminds me that teaching English is about building bridges across cultures, as well as it is about actually learning a new skill. So I feel so lucky to be here doing what I do.
That is a fantastic point. Okay. So we're coming to the end now, and just to wrap up, I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you. I hope you don't mind, just to
Okay.
end on a fun note.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite British word or phrase?
Mm. You all right, love?
Yes, it's very
That's an
disarming,
endearing
isn't
one. Yeah.
it?
I like that.
Okay, well, could you give us a translation for that? If anybody out there doesn't know that, how would you explain the effect it has on people, or it should have?
Well, so I mean, love is just I don't even know because in America you wouldn't, it's just like you would say miss or sir, or because you say it to women and men. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter who, have you been called love before, Kieran?
Oh, certainly, definitely.
Yeah. So it's, are you all right? Like miss or sir or ma'am or something like that. But it's just a nicer, I don't know, whenever you hear it, it makes you happy in your heart to hear somebody refer to you almost by such a familiar thing, but they could be a total stranger. And I don't know, I quite like it. See, I quite like it. I
Now,
like it.
now, the next one is probably going to be a controversial one. Okay,
Okay.
but is there a British food that you actually like?
I like black pudding, oddly enough.
Oh,
Yeah, I really
okay.
like black pudding. I was tricked into trying it for the first time, but I didn't really mind because I thought it was so delicious. So.
What did you? So I get when you say you were tricked into it, like you saw it, and like what did you expect it to be when you first came across it?
I don't really know because things with blood are illegal to sell or produce in the United States. So you can't really access it there. So you just think it's going to taste like blood, which it does not at all. It's a very earthy, almost reminiscent of mushrooms, I suppose. And I don't know, it has other spices and textures in it from, different things. So, um, yeah, not at all really what I expected. And yeah, just really yummy with a fried egg or part of your English breakfast.
Okay. Okay. So moving from food now to drink. Now let's think about America and the UK. Which has the better coffee?
I haven't had coffee in the US in a long time, so I will just say UK by default.
Okay. All
Boring
right.
answer, but there you go.
A diplomatic answer, but a good answer nonetheless.
Yeah.
Um, so the last question then is, obviously you've been in Manchester for a while now. So what is the most Mancunian thing you've done so far?
Probably going to a football match or watching cricket at Old Trafford, the cricket
Mm,
grounds there. Yeah.
okay. So I don't want to start a fight on asking you which team, but what was it an enjoyable match anyway?
Yes. Well, many enjoyable matches. I'm sorry, Kieran. I live very close to the Etihad, so
Oh,
I sometimes go to the Etihad and
oh.
watch a match.
Well, I think that is a good reason for us to end the podcast right
Oy.
now.
Okay. Sorry, I
All
ruined
right.
it. I'm so sorry.
Well, I will let you off this time. I'll let you off. There are other good football teams as well in Manchester,
There
just
are.
for legal
Yes,
reasons.
absolutely. Yeah, legally we have to acknowledge that there's another one that's really good too.
Well, you also went to Old Trafford for the cricket. How was that? I mean,
Mhm.
it's maybe of a minority interest in America, but here in the UK, cricket is quite a popular sport. So how was it for you?
Mhm. Oh, it's great. It's such a good atmosphere going to watch cricket. Depending on what kind of match you're watching, I suppose. But the days that I go for, I think they're called test matches.
Okay.
So it's
Hmm.
when they're ongoing for several days at a time, and you can kind of just rock up and buy a ticket if the weather's good. And normally everyone's very relaxed, and you have a drink if you partake in drinks, or you can just sit and enjoy, and everyone claps really politely. And yeah, I think it's just a really nice way to spend an afternoon if you have time and you're around
Yeah.
and it's not
Well,
raining.
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, with it being a summer sport, you really have to run the risk of the English summer, really. But most of the
Mm,
time, it's a nice sunny day.
yeah, definitely.
Well, Sienna, it's been absolutely lovely chatting with you today, and it's been great hearing about your experiences. And I'm sure that for our students, it has been really helpful as well. So thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, again, thank you for having me, Kieran, and I really appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, please have me back at some point. I would love to come back on.
All right, yeah, we'll definitely have you on at some point in the future. So, yeah, I guess I'll say on behalf of all our students here, thank you very much for coming on, and yeah, have a great rest of the day.